Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda, and I have 4 articles in this episode for you. The first one is off of WakingTimes.com, and it is entitled Florida's Largest Lake Poisoned, a Victim of Politics as Usual. And this is how it reads. Water is life. Water has been poisoned and is toxic. Then water kills life. Rock movement enters the next phase of their struggle against the Dakota Access Pipeline, and the world has, for once, mustered en masse cause. Many incredibly important battles for water and life are being lost around the nation in want of attention and action off the radar of public consciousness. Take, for example, the ongoing disaster at Florida's largest inland body of water, Lake Okeechobee, a poisoned wasteland spreading deadly algae blooms from coast to coast. It is the direct result of man-made activity, primarily the policies and practices of surrounding sugarcane farming, although cattle ranching, suburban development, and golf courses are also major factors. Of the connecting bodies of water, all both the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic Coast, is so chemically out of balance, it's producing dense, thick green algae bloom, fueled in its growth by heavily fertilizer runoff and heavy rains. The result is creeping mass of choking sludge that kills everything in its wake, including sea mammals, fish, and birds. Levees, dikes, and canals that handle runoff from the lake rainfall, such as earlier in 2016, from extensive contamination. And even though the public has at times rallied in protest for political change, continues in large part because of the political factors involved with the local industries. Weather.com published an authoritative article and struggles of the political gridlock that has prevented meaningful change in favor of a solution. And to describe the issue, which has been building for nearly a century and is ever exacerbated by the politics surrounding the sugar industry, extraordinarily profitable for a small handful of business magnates in the area. How this thing reads, it says, with the fresh of South Florida pumping deadly toxins into the sea for the foreseeable future, the costly effort to turn swampland into cropland to overcome its own of hybris, a legacy whose dark underside includes death and desolation. The roots of Florida's toxic algae conflict lie in 19th century ambitions to transform vast swamps south of Lake Okeechobee, viewed as worse than worthless farmland, remaking millions of acres, or Buckingham Smith put it in 1848, would earn a settler high place in public favor, not only with his own generation, but with posterity. He will have created a state. Farm settlers and engineers set themselves to task of redirecting of almost volume of Florida's groundwater, which had been until then through the Everglades to the peninsula's tip, Florida Bay. Settlers fortified of the lake with primitive muck levees overwhelmed by Florida's rampaging storms. That led engineers to dig canals to carry excess water when necessary to the St. Lucie and Tossie, I'm guessing I'm pronouncing that correct, rivers, which run east and west respectively. Drains into the Atlantic and the Caloosahatchee into the Gulf. There, the access fresh water from the lake drop in the proverbial saltwater bucket. The fact that a lake the size of Okeechobee can be toxic dump, killing wildlife and local industries like fishing with only minimal coverage and minimal outrage, says a great deal about the value our culture places on water and life. Some believe the damage can be reversed in time. Only policies were updated to stop the contamination and contribute to the rehabilitation of the lake. We find that life is not well represented in the halls of government. Are. How much further can we venture down the path without suffering the most extreme of repercussions? The article I have for you is off of CBS News. Proponent of mainstream media, I thought this was worth bringing up. Pantsless driver in Detroit dies in wreck watching porn. Step up, folks. Out of Detroit, a new level of distracted driving was reached when a man, allegedly preoccupied by a pornographic movie on his phone, crashed and rolled his vehicle, all wearing pants. It happened about 3:30 a.m. Sunday on I-75 in Detroit, Michigan, State Police told CBS Detroit. Michigan State Police Lieutenant Mike Shaw said it's the strangest thing he'd ever encountered on the roadway. On makeup, we see people doing different things as far as hygiene, as far as reading books. It's almost, there's so much technology out there. A lot of people are what they're doing other than driving their cars, Shaw said. Detroit was partially ejected through the sunroof when his 26 Toyota rolled, and he was thrown from the vehicle and died. He wasn't wearing pants, police told the Detroit News. Were struck, thankfully. Driver inattention is the leading factor in most crashes and near crashes, the Michigan State Police website says, citing the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute. Now, we have been coached on, do not text and drive, get off your phone when you're driving, don't be talking on the phone. And to the mix here, do not watch porn on your cell phone when you are driving. This is a public service announcement. What I have for you is off of Natural News, and it's titled The Empire Strikes Back. DEA quietly announces Schedule I status for CBD extracts to comply with United Nations demands. CBD Prohibition, hemp industry disputes. And this is how it reads. In case you didn't notice, the war against human freedom is now in full force across the entire establishment. Big media, big pharma, big government, big banks, and big agriculture are assaulting our bodies and minds by the hour, it seems. The latest salvo in the war a day ago is the DEA quietly added all cannabinoids, including CBD, to its Schedule I of controlled substances in a new ruling that goes into effect on January the 13th of 2017. And they have an insert here that says, be sure to also read the hemp industry's response below, which confirms the following. And the article goes on, and it says Department of Justice, Enforcement Administration, 21 CFR Part 1308, and gives the docket number and all that, and it goes to Part 1308, Schedules of Controlled Substances. And it says, number one, authority citation for Part 1308 continues to read as follows. Authority 21 USC 811, 812, 871B, unless otherwise noted. Section 2 is 1308.11 is amended by adding paragraph and all these numbers and all this, and it goes on, and it finally gets down here and it says meaning an extract containing one or more cannabinoids that has been derived from any plant of the genus cannabis, other than the separated resin, whether crude or purified, obtained from the plant. DEA has completely, outside any act of Congress, created an entirely new Schedule I controlled substance it calls extract. Note the spelling with an H. It's marihuana rather than with the J. Marijuana extract is, according to the DEA, any extract containing one or more cannabinoids. CBD is, of course, a non-psychoactive cannabinoid. It's just one of over 100 cannabinoids found in hemp extracts, which also include CBD, CBG, CBC, CBN, and so on. There is a petition on this link to ask Trump administration to protect access to CBD products and keep the DEA's hands off natural medicine from cannabis. And it says the sky is not falling. Hemp Industry Association responds. It says from the Hemp Industry Association, there's a thoughtful response on all this, which insists the DEA's new classification is not a showstopper. Yesterday, the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, issued a final rule on the coding of marijuana extracts. Unfortunately, some misleading media stories and social media postings people to panic at reports that the CBD was being banned under this new rule. The sky is not falling. The final rule published by the DEA did not change the legal status of CBD. This can only be done by scheduling action, which has not occurred. Carefully reviewed this with our legal advisors and discussed it with industry experts. While there are some differing opinions on the side or on the effect of the rule, there is general agreement that yesterday's ruling did not change the status of CBD. Here are some important facts to know. Cannabinoid is not listed on the federal schedule of controlled substances. 606 of the Farm Bill defines hemp as distinct from marijuana and does not treat it as a controlled substance when grown under a compliant state program. DEA has stated that CBD is a controlled substance previously. HIA strongly disagrees with the DEA position and is ready to take action to defend should the DEA take any action to block processing or sale of hemp under Section 7606. The final rule published on December the 14th, scheduling action, but rather an administrative action related to record keeping. The code assigned to marijuana extract in the rule is Administration Controlled Substances Code Number for the purposes of identification of substances on registration forms. The rule was originally published as a proposed rule in 2011 before the Farm Bill and didn't mention CBD or hemp. DEA confirmed to a reporter from the Denver Post an administrative action and did not change the status of CBD in federal law. What does this all mean? The DEA rule on marijuana extracts was not directed at hemp-derived CBD products and has been in the works for 5 years. We also believe there is no imminent change in policy regarding hemp-derived CBD products. I urge everyone to calm down and continue with your business. That in the future, reporters will take time to get the facts before posting misleading stories about hemp and CBD. It is obedient to United Nations globalists. This was all done, says DEA, to comply with international drug control treaties administered by the United Nations. According to the registry entry, the DEA needed to create a new Schedule I classification for CBD in order to better account for these materials in accordance with. In other words, the DEA is claiming they are beholden to globalist treaties as the reason they need to criminalize CBD, a controlled substance. The move is described as an effort to bring the U.S. into compliance with international drug control treaties, reports Leafly.com. All right. Yeah, Leafly, Leafly.com. Such action is an admission that the federal government is really just an obedient lapdog of the United Nations. There. That same article confirms that the DEA considers CBD to be Schedule I substance that is to possess. The DEA comment on the entry addresses the question, what if it's only CBD and no other cannabinoids? The agency's response, for practical purposes, all extract that contains CBD will also contain at least small amounts of other cannabinoids. It were possible to produce from the cannabis plant an extract only CBD and no other cannabinoids, such an extract would fall in the new drug code and therefore remain federally illegal. In other words, the DEA is confident that it can find enough traces of other cannabinoids in your CBD oil to arrest and prosecute. And they still have the option of arresting and prosecuting based on CBD oil itself. Grocery store bought hemp seeds would also be illegal to possess, by the way, because even hemp seeds contain trace amounts of CBD. New ruling openly admits it was strongly influenced by Big Pharma, which asked the DEA to classify all cannabinoids as Schedule I drugs, not just CBD or any other isolated compound from the Federal Register, it says, from a pharmaceutical firm currently involved in cannabinoid research and product development, praised DEA's efforts to establish a new drug code for marijuana as a means to more accurately reflect scientific research, consistent adherence to the requirements of the single convention. Comment expressed concerns that the proposed definition for the new drug code, being extracts that have been derived from any plant of the genus cannabis and which contain cannabinoids and cannabinoid oils, is too narrow. Suggested that the broader term cannabinoids be substituted for cannabinols and cannabinoids. The comment pointed out that other constituents of the marijuana plant therapeutic potential. The comment further clarified that the broader term cannabinoid includes both cannabinol type compounds and annabinol type compounds, as well as cannabinoid compounds, cannabinol type compounds, and other categories of compounds. Wow. Botcher-Farr amendment currently protects CBD consumers in 28 states, but could vanish in April of 2017. Under the DEA's new Schedule I dictate, consumers of CBD products will enjoy protections in at least 28 states thanks to the Rohrabacher-Farr amendment passed in 2014. That law essentially prohibits federal DEA agents from going after CBD consumers in states where medical marijuana is already legal. It must be renewed every year. It was just renewed a week ago on December the 9th of 2016 as part of the continuing House resolution known as HR, which funds the federal government through April 28th of 2017, reports Leafly. Expires next April, so does the protections afforded by Rohrabacher-Farr, unless it's renewed once again. CBD protections for consumers in 28 states will likely expire in April of 2017. Consumers in other non-medical marijuana states have less than 30 days to acquire CBD products before interstate sales are shut down nationwide. To fight the absurd DEA classification with lawsuits and petitions, the CBD industry naturally is planning on waging fierce battle to keep CBD products legal in all 50 states by Leafly. That says Robert Hoban, a Colorado cannabis attorney and adjunct professor of law on the University of Denver, raised the notion that the rule itself may not be lawful. beyond the DEA's authority, Hoban told Leafly in an interview late this afternoon. The DEA can only carry out the law. They cannot create it. Here, they're purporting to create an entirely new category called tracks, and by doing so, wrest control over all cannabinoids. They want to call all cannabinoids illegal, but they don't have the authority to do that. In fact, has been looking for an opportunity to challenge the DEA in court, and it looks like that time has arrived. And there is a petition in this link to this that you can click on to ask Trump administration to protect consumers to access CBD products. Continues. It says consumers in many states may have just 30 days to acquire CBD products before sales are halted by many companies. One large CBD extract producer told Natural News, "We've been advised by our attorney to halt CBD sales outside our home state in 30 days. That company plans to announce to its customers that they have 30 days to purchase their products, after which they plan to pull all sales except for inside their home state." CBD producers are poised to fight the DEA regulation with federal lawsuits. With the DEA's enforcement of its cannabis regulations up in the air, lawsuits from private industry on the horizon, 2017 looks to be a year of unexpected twists and turns for hemp extract producers and consumers. Natural News will continue to cover the news on all of this, including publishing on hempscience.news. At the bottom it says, my personal analysis, by the way, is that the DEA's ruling will not stand for long, narrowed through clarification or rescinded. Sure, especially when the DEA wants to wage a large power grab just in time for the new incoming administration, which may be rather hostile to medical marijuana. I have one final article in this episode for you, and this is off of foxnews.us. Henry Heimlich, maneuver creator, dies at age 96. Ohio. The life-saving Heimlich maneuver for choking victims has died. Heimlich died early at Christ Hospital in Cincinnati. He was 96 years old. His son Phil says he suffered a heart attack earlier in the week. Director of surgery at Jewish Hospital in Cincinnati in 1974 when he devised the treatment for choking victims that made his name a household word. Using the procedure, abruptly squeezed a victim's abdomen, pushing in, created a flow of air from the lungs. That flow of air can push objects out of the windpipe and prevent suffocation. Our native estimated the maneuver has saved the lives of thousands of choking victims in the United States alone. That concludes this episode. If you like what we're doing, give it a thumbs up, share it around, subscribe, click that little bell beside the subscribe button and click the box so that you get email alerts, because we'll see you in the next episode.